Hello. Today, I thought we'd do something a little different. I want to read you a book that I really like a lot. I've read it a couple times over the years, and it is a children's book, but I just really like it. Just something about it, you know. I mean, if you knew me, you could kind of infer I'm the type of guy that, only watches cartoons and only really reads fantasy stuff. So I guess, if you knew me, you could probably understand, but it's The Phantom Tollbooth. I just think it's a great book. I really like it. Just something about it, just the atmosphere is just really nice. And I'm not going to lie, it's kind of like, going back a couple years, it's a little nostalgic, but without further ado, we'll get started here. This is a special version, so we got to skip through a couple pages. Alright, here we go. We're at chapter 1 now. There was once a boy named Milo who didn't always know what to do with himself. Not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out. And when he was out, he longed to be in. On the way, he thought about coming home. And coming home, he thought about going. Wherever he was, he wished he were somewhere else. And when he got there, he wondered why he'd bothered. Nothing really interested him, least of all, things that should have. It seemed to me that almost everything is a waste of time, he remarked one day as he walked up dejectedly home from school. I can't see the point in learning to solve useless problems, or subtracting turnips from turnips, or learning where Ethiopia is, or how to spell February. And since no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge as the greatest waste of time at all. As he and his unhappy thoughts hurried along, for while he was never anxious to be where he was going, he liked to get there as quickly as possible. It seemed a great wonder that the world, which was so large, could sometimes feel so small and empty. And worst of all, he continued sadly, there was nothing for me to do, nowhere I'd care to go, and hardly anything worth seeing. He punctuated his last thought with such a deep sigh that a house sparrow singing nearby stopped and rushed home to be with his family. Without stopping or looking up, Milo dashed past the buildings and busy shops that lined the street, and in a few minutes he'd reached home, dashed to the lobby, hopped onto the elevator, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off again. Opened the apartment door, rushed to his room, and flopped dejectedly onto his chair and grumbled softly. Another long afternoon. He looked glumly at all the things he'd owned. The tools he'd never learned how to use, the small electric automobile he hadn't driven in months, or wore it years, and the hundreds of games and toys and bats and balls and bits and pieces scattered around him. And then, to one side of the room, just next to the phonograph, he noticed something he had certainly never seen before. Who could have possibly left such an enormous package, and such a strange one? For while it was not quite square, it definitely was not round. For its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of smaller dimension that he'd ever seen. Attached to one side was a bright blue envelope which read simply, "For Milo, who has plenty of time." Of course, if you've ever gotten a surprise package, you can imagine how puzzled and excited Milo was. And if you've never gotten one, pay close attention, because someday you might. Of course, if you've ever... Oh, oops. I don't think it's my birthday, he puzzled. And Christmas must be months away. And I haven't been outstandingly good, or even good at all. He had to admit this even to himself. Most probably I won't like it anyway, but since I don't know where it came from, I can't possibly send it back. He thought about it for quite a while and then opened the envelope, just to be polite. One genuine turnpike toll booth, it stated, and then it went on. Easily assembled at home, and for use by those who have never traveled in the lands beyond. Beyond what? Thought Milo as he continued to read. This package contains the following. 1. Genuine turnpike toll booth to be erected according to directions. 3. Hold on. My computer went to sleep, but I'm using it to record. 3 precautionary signs to be used in precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for use in paying tolls. 1 map. Up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers depicting natural and man-made features. 1 book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in smaller letters at the bottom it concluded, results are not guaranteed, but if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. Following the instructions which told him to cut here, lift there, fold back, and all around, he soon had the toll booth unpacked and set up on its stand. He fitted the windows in place and attached the roof, which extended out on both sides. He fashioned the coin box. It was very much like the toll booths he'd seen many times on family trips. Except, of course, it was much smaller and purple. What a strange present, he thought to himself. The least they could have done was send a highway with it, for it's terrible impractical without one. But since, at the time, there was nothing else he wanted to play with, he set up the 3 signs. Slow down, approaching toll booth. Please have your fare ready, and have your destination in mind. 1 second. As the announcement stated, it was a beautiful map. Many colors showing principal roads, rivers, and seas and towns, and cities and mountains and valleys, intersections and detours, and sites of outstanding interest, both beautiful and historic. The only trouble was that Milo had never heard of any of these places indicated. Even the names sounded quite peculiar. I don't think there really is such a country, he concluded after studying carefully. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. He closed his eyes and poked a finger at the map. Dictionopolis, read Milo slowly when he saw what his finger had chosen. Oh well, I might as well go there anyway. He walked across the room and dusted the car off carefully, and then taking the map and rulebook with him, he hopped in and, for lack of anything better to do, drove up slowly to the toll booth and deposited his coin and rolled past as he remarked wistfully, I do hope this is an interesting game, otherwise this afternoon will be so terribly dull. I'm going to pause it here. This is the end of Chapter 1. I will be finishing Chapter 2 quite quickly because, Chapter 2 is kind of important from Chapter 1. I mean, every chapter is important after the other one, but you know what I mean. But put in the comments if you think this is kind of a fun idea. I hope I don't get copyright claimed or anything because I really just want to share this book with everybody. If you ever need anybody to talk to, you can send me an email using my business email thing on my YouTube page. I'm more than happy to at least, shoot you a couple of messages back, just because I know how it is, but that's besides the point. Have a good night if you're sleeping. Have a good rest of your day if you're just chilling and listening to something to pass the time. If you're studying or using this as background noise, I hope whatever you're working on turns out great.